Malyon of Lyon, and you're listening to the Capsule podcast on liveandlimbo.com.
This is Capsule on liveandlimbo.com. My name is Sean Chin.
And I am Andreas Babiolakis. This is an audio experience where we take you on an adventure into music, film, and pop culture.
Lyon is a Canadian indie pop band getting ready to take over the airwaves. They are fresh off releasing their debut EP called Indian Summer and are coming to a Canadian city near you.
Today we are joined by the lovely Lauren Malyon. How's it going?
Hey there. It's going well. How are you guys?
Great.
We're great, yeah.
Good.
You've had a busy day today.
Yeah, it was busy.
From what I've seen.
I had an interview at Sirius XM Radio, and then we released the new video for my single Floating today.
That's right.
Fantastic.
Yes.
What station were you on Sirius?
I'm not sure. I think that they record it just like for a SoundCloud at first, and then they kind of piece it into different shows that they have.
Oh, very cool.
Oh, cool. It's probably going to pop up on the indie stations on there then.
Yeah, I'm not sure. They just, it was a really fun experience. And I'd never been to their office before. So
Congratulations. That's fantastic.
Congrats, yeah.
Thank you.
We'll be sure to be on the lookout for that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, speaking of your new video for Floating, that's an awesome video.
Cool. Thanks. You got a chance to check it out.
Yes. And so what was the process of creating that like for you?
Well, Sean, the director, he did most of the work because he obviously came up with the concept and presented it to us. And we really liked the idea of it from the get-go. And I just think he had a really good vision for it. For anyone that hasn't seen it, it's set in a karaoke bar. And basically it follows me kind of like fish out of water, performing the song, kind of like nervous at the beginning, and then kind of opening up as the song goes on, and it has a karaoke, like authentic karaoke video playing during it.
No, so that's pretty interesting because you're from a small town and you moved to the big city.
Exactly.
Going to karaoke bars something on that list now, or is that a routine?
Funny you should mention karaoke bars. They kind of terrify me. I think I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. So like, unless I feel like I'm totally ready, I think like it's that fear of going up and thinking you know a song and then finding out that you don't like halfway through.
Oh, yeah. Because there's no formal training with karaoke until you go there too often, which means you shouldn't. That's not a good thing. You're going to a bar too often.
Totally. Like that one guy that can like always win because he has like that perfect epic 80s song or something.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And he thinks he can hit the high notes, but he can't.
Exactly.
So let's talk about, speaking of music, that's why we're here. Let's talk about your your EP, Indian Summer, which is fantastic. I've had a chance to listen to it a few times. It's really, really cool. I like it because it's taking the kind of sound that we hear a lot with like this new rush of like synthpop, kind of like dream pop that you find in indie music now. But what I find interesting is that there's a little bit of something more. And on your Facebook page, it says it's indie pop with soul. Now, human soul. There we go.
I hope so. I don't know. I guess for me, it's just like, I don't want it to sound like a robot. I don't want it to be, yes, a lot of the sounds are made on the computer, but I don't want it to lose that human element. So, and I think because I grew up playing violin was my first instrument, and I grew up playing violin and piano and actually a lot of classical music at the beginning. And so I think it's always been important to me to still, even though I'm going, with the more electronic sound, to still incorporate some real instruments and just like, so there's a human touch to it.
For sure. Now, does that apply to lyrics as well? Like, how would you try, like, is it like a kind of a purpose to try and inject more soul, or do you find that it's kind of something that kind of just happens to your music when you sing it?
It's a bit of both. I think it's intentional, yes, in the sense that like I don't want to write sort of, like the typical dance songs that kind of just like insert generic lyrics here. Like I don't want I don't want to do that.
Right.
But also, I mean, especially for the Indian Summer EP, it was very much a snapshot in time in that like a lot of it was pulled out like pretty much straight from my diary of what I was going through at the time. So
Well, speaking of the songs in particular, I love Happy Alone. That's the greatest song on the EP so far.
Oh, yeah.
That I really like. Yeah,
I gotta agree with that.
That's a real gem in there. So what got you to write that one?
that was honestly, I think that was the last song that I did for the EP. So that's really cool that you said that. Yeah, that one started, you know what? It's a funny story. I was on my way to write with Japath, who I wrote the whole EP with. And I was kind of panicking on the way there because I hadn't really like prepared properly for that session. And I was kind of thinking like, oh shoot, like I need to be able to show him something. And on the way there I was driving and the start of that song kind of popped into my head. And it was like an idea that I think I had sort of started thinking about sort of for like the last, I don't know, maybe like a month before or something, and just kind of been floating around in my brain and had just pushed it aside. And so it was just on the way to the session, I was like, oh yeah, I wonder if that would, turn into something. And then I sat down and I played it for him and I was like, I don't know if it's too much in the heartache still. We kind of wrote about that already. He's like, no, we can always do something with this. And then he's like, why don't we, turn it in the chorus to being about something, that you've arrived, like you've come to this realization that you learned to be happy alone. So it was kind of like, it was neat just putting a spin on it. And that was totally his. I played like the verse for him and then he came in like with the chorus idea almost like instantly and just sang it back at me. And it was just this magical moment of like, wow.
Did it come from a personal experience?
It did. Sort of like at the time that I was writing this EP, I had just finished a really long-term relationship. And also my band that I'd been playing with had just totally kind of parted ways. They'd all moved across the country to kind of pursue other careers and whatnot. So I was, I can speak. I was at a real point of just kind of starting over in a way, but like on finding my own 2 feet again and just figuring out how to do it on my own.
Well, it's a great result.
Glad that you're doing, yeah.
Fantastic work. So, as I was saying before, it's a dream pop kind of like it's got a retro vibe, and there's a lot of musicians and artists that they're creating this it's like a comeback almost for this kind of sound, except it still sounds very modern, even though it pays a lot of tribute to the past eras. Do you think that synthpop and the like is kind of an homage, or do you think it's a reinvention of the former artists of the like?
I think it's a bit of both. I think it's definitely inspired by a lot of those 80s sounds that we love, but I would like to think that there's some progression there too. Yeah, I think it's kind of like the new phase of that, right?
Oh, it's a great phase. I love it. Now, do you have any personal favorites from the 80s or even now that have inspired you?
I do. I don't know. Have you guys checked out like my 80s cover series at all? I did like an acoustic sort of series on YouTube where I covered Sinead O'Connor, well, really Prince's song, Nothing Compares to You, and a couple others. There was Alphaville, Forever Young, and New Order's Bizarre Love Triangle. So, yeah, those were, yeah, I don't know if you've seen them, but you can check them out. And those are just 3 that, just like timeless classic pieces, and that kind of influenced me. So I just did like very bare, stripped down acoustic versions of them.
That's fantastic. Do you think you're ever going to do more covers that aren't necessarily acoustic, but even like a full ensemble?
Yeah, I've started to. I don't know if you got a chance to check out. I did a cover of Lorde's Team with Wolf Saga. So that's kind of the beginning of a new mixtape idea that we have, where we're going to cover a bunch of just songs that we love, basically.
And that's doing pretty well too.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I was not expecting that, and I think it's had like over 30,000 listens so far. It's insane.
That's great.
Amazing. Yeah. So This year has been pretty exciting for you musically. And to get our listeners to know you better, other than music, has anything else interesting happened to you, a unique thing happened to you in 2014 thus far? Non-musically.
In 2014 too, so
Yes.
like only in the last 2 months.
Yeah, exactly.
Not even 2 months.
I don't know. I like outside of music, I guess I've been apartment hunting. That's
fun.
So
how's that going?
Pretty good. It was kind of like tricky because I'm going on tour like very shortly. I'm going like starting next Wednesday. So in a week. So I was kind of like looking for a new place, and I wasn't sure if I was going to move like right before I leave or kind of be homeless when I get back. So I just found something. So I'm gonna probably move everything in boxes this weekend and then go on tour and then come back and unpack my life.
The hardest part is painting, like finding the right color and all of that. That's
don't even get me started on that.
I haven't even done that before. I just went to IKEA for I don't know, maybe the 3rd time ever. And it's so overwhelming, but it's awesome.
IKEA is a great place for furniture. You just have to assemble everything yourself.
And it has really, really good food.
Oh, yes.
That's right, yeah.
So when you give up on like window shopping, you just have something to eat, and then you're inspired to shop again.
And then I had like I was like hardcore about it, and I had like the pencil and I was writing things down. And then the other day I showed up and I was recording something in studio, and I pulled out my pencil, and Jesse, the guy that was recording me, is like, "Did you steal an IKEA pencil?"
Maybe you did. Yeah. So while we're on that, so what color are you going to paint your walls? Like, what's your favorite color?
Well, I don't know. All the walls are white right now. I think I'm thinking like maybe red and black accents, possibly.
Good choice.
Hey, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Many musicians spend years and years making mistakes and doing trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
How long did it take you to find your voice or your sound?
Oh, that's a really good question. Well, I would say, I mean, I think you're probably always kind of doing that, but in my teens, when I started singing more, I never had like the loud, like the Mariah Carey voice. You know what I mean when I say that? Yeah. Like I never had this showy Christina Aguilera like acrobatic thing going on. So like I never had like the solos and like choir in school or anything like that. So I think it took me like a little bit to just be comfortable in the fact that my voice is my own, and I guess the easiest way to say it is no one can be you better than you, right? So just kind of getting comfortable in the fact that my voice is quieter, and just exploring more how quiet can you go, or how much character or subtlety can you have, rather than like how loud can you yell, since that's not like my thing.
No, for sure. That's for vocals, but that means that you probably had a lot of focus onto the actual songwriting itself. When did that kind of start? Did that start when you were younger as well?
Yeah, it did. I mean, I guess the transition was like I was doing all classical music, and it was very, practice heavy, and just like do exactly what your teacher says and play everything exactly the same way, and like always reading from the page. And then I started discovering a little bit of like the transition was, singers like Alicia Keys or like Chantal Kreviazuk, like people that were at the piano and singing. Right. And so I just started off by basically, imitating them. And then eventually you end up kind of figuring out that you don't want every song to sound like Chantal Kreviazuk necessarily, because you need to figure out your own thing. But that was like kind of my learning curve. I would just like listen to it and then kind of figure it out by ear, and then write in the style of for a while.
What about like with the actual stories you'd be telling? Like, what were the kind of like the first inspirations outside of actual artists? Like, did anything happen that you would write about, and then suddenly you'd have a song come out? Like, how did that work at first?
I don't know, anything and everything. Just my experiences. I used to take the bus to Toronto. I grew up in a small town, Port Perry, and I would take the bus to Toronto for my music lessons every weekend. And so I'd always like meet interesting people, whether I wanted to or not, on the bus, because my violin case was like a conversation starter.
Oh yeah.
And so, so I'd meet interesting people. I remember like going to my violin teacher's house. She lived in Rosedale, and waiting for the Rosedale bus, and it just started like pouring rain, and I was standing outside, and I just felt so stranded. I remember singing a song kind of as it was raining. I don't know,
so you do sing in the rain. That's cool.
I sing all the time. I'm weird.
Well, that's not weird. That's if it got you where you are now. I think that's a pretty cool thing, right?
I guess makes me feel better.
Well, there you go. You're going pretty successfully right now, so that's all that matters.
Well, thank you.
So if you're so vocal about singing, no pun intended. So were you kind of somebody that would just sing randomly in public, like with your friends or at school?
No,
Were you?
I'm shy.
I find that hard to believe.
I am.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I can talk to you right now because I don't know, it feels more intimate somehow. But if we were like at a house party where there were like 40 people or 50 people, I'd probably be the quietest one.
Really? Oh, that's interesting.
Goes back to the karaoke thing, I guess, right?
Yeah, right back
Yeah,
to
no, I totally would not want to be the one to get up. Like if I'm out of my element, like I'm totally shy.
Were you ever pressured to sing in front of others? Were people ever like, yo, this girl can sing, can you show what you've got? Like, were you ever put in that situation, or?
Yeah, and I feel like at, family events or Christmas parties or, everyone's like, oh, she's musical, she can lead. And I'm such a perfectionist that I didn't always want to do something just on the fly if I didn't feel like I'd prepared something special.
Yeah, I hear that. I mean, when I used to play guitar, it'd be the same thing where it's like, yo, let this guy plug in his guitar. It didn't happen very often. And every time I just I cringe. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah. So you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So, Lauren, so I'm guessing that you like Lorde since you covered her, right?
I do.
Okay. Did you see at the BRIT Awards, Lorde and Disclosure did like this cool remix? I think they just posted it on YouTube.
I've only read about that one. I saw her performance obviously at on the Grammys, but I haven't seen that one with Disclosure yet.
Yeah, that literally just came out. That's pretty cool. So speaking of those collaborations, which modern artist right now would you want to collaborate with musically?
That's such a good question. I don't know. I'm starting to I'm being sent tracks now from different producers in the UK.
Oh, that's a good sign.
Yeah, so they'll send me like instrumental tracks and I'll write like the melody and lyrics to it. So I've started doing that. But just in terms of like anybody.
Yeah, anyone right now. A modern one.
It would be cool. I'm a big fan of Bastille.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That would be really cool.
I think that could be cool because he has a pretty interesting voice, and I think maybe that would go nicely.
And what about like a disbanded artist or a deceased artist?
A deceased artist.
Yes.
Oh, geez.
Any old legends that you admire that you would love to sing with?
I don't know about deceased because that seems morbid.
Not deceased, but like disbanded. Disbanded.
Non-working.
Non-working.
Like
retired.
Time. Okay. I don't know. What about like maybe Fleetwood Mac or something?
Oh, that would be crazy.
That'd be cool.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Give them like a modern synth-pop vibe.
Pardon me?
Give them like a modern synth-pop vibe.
Yeah, can you imagine? That could work.
That could work actually really well.
They're classic songs. You can dress them up. Totally.
For sure, that'd be great.
Spin on it.
Okay, I got a cool question. So do you have any hobbies that directly influence your music creating process, like reading or anything, like watching movies or films? Or
yes, because everything I think inspires me, but I also get inspired in really weird situations. Like I'll think of songs. Sometimes we'll go snowmobiling as a family, and I'll just be singing in my helmet like the entire time.
Wow,
and,
that's really cool.
I don't
like. What do you sing? What do you sing?
I don't know. I just kind of like zone out, and I sing like songs I already know, and then I just sing random things too.
You might be the first musician ever to be inspired while on a snowmobile.
Or the first to publicly admit it.
Yeah,
there you go.
Well, that's really cool though. So basically, these songs come to you. Is there because you mentioned before, the final track on the EP that it kind of just came to you both, and then you wrote it and you recorded it and you kind of just left it. Is there ever an instance where something will come to you and then you'll have like a long process tinkering with it, or do you usually just go with the first instance approach?
It's a mix of both. It's not always so easy. Sometimes it can be pulling teeth, but I'm pretty lucky in that I find working with Japeth that I've been writing with. Usually, if I feel stuck, then by the time that I see him, like he'll have an idea that will kind of help propel it. So that's where I really love the collaboration, because where I would get stuck on my own, it's awesome to then like hook up with someone else, and then they kind of get you past that, right?
Have any songs been like shelved or are permanently like discarded during this kind of process, or do you manage to kind of work each one into a functional song?
I have to say, I think we usually end up making it work.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
That's a good sign.
I'm not really the type of person to like write 50 songs and then use the best 10. Like I'm more quality over quantity, I think. So like
Oh, I
Right.
love that. I love that philosophy.
yeah,
Because you're a perfectionist.
so usually it can be worked into something.
So does that mean it usually takes longer for you to produce those 10 songs?
Yes and no. It kind of depends. Like I said, lately I've been getting sent some instrumental tracks, so
Yep.
writing like the melody and lyrics to that actually has been a pretty quick process. But I think developing stuff from scratch definitely takes longer.
So your Indian Summer EP was really good, as we said.
Yep.
And so I'm guessing that you are working on a featured full-length album as well.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything you can tell us about that?
Officially not really, other than
No, okay.
I just yeah, I mean I'm definitely writing for it right now, and I think like I'll have to, obviously my mind will be a bit on the tour while that's happening, and then but I'm sure I'll have some adventures along the way that will inspire me as well. And then once I get back from tour, that's going to be my main focus pretty much. But yeah, I think the main theme so far in the songs, it's just kind of, I guess, well, it's about me, and I'm finding that I'm just learning about change, and just the idea that nothing really in life. I don't know. Someone said this to me the other day. It's kind of cheesy, but nothing in life is constant except for change. So just understanding that concept, and my head kind of exploded. But
No, we love those inspirational quotes.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's cheesy, but yeah, just the idea that trying, I don't know. I think sometimes to feel safe, you want to like latch onto things and think that you can just, get attached, but it's kind of hard to imagine that everything's always fluctuating and changing, and just like to, it's nice to think you can go with the flow, but it's another thing to actually be able to do that all the time.
For sure. Speaking of which, actually, you're still a relatively new artist, so with this new career ahead of you, with all of these albums you can be putting out, all of these EPs that might be coming to you, on the topic of going with the flow or kind of staying stagnant, do you see maybe possibly in the future your music evolving with whatever music's happening at the time, or do you think that this is kind of the genre you want to experiment with a little bit, see what happens with it?
I see it as a bit of both. I think I'm really happy with the sound that I'm making right now, and I think that it's still going to sound like the Indian Summer EP, but I'm right now I'm playing with more just like maybe some dancier songs, like a little more up tempo, because I didn't have as much of that in the Indian Summer EP, and then seeing where that goes from there, because I love music, so it's not like, if this genre dries up that it's like, oh, can't do it anymore.
So you're pretty eclectic with your taste in music?
I would say so, yeah.
What would be the biggest, like the complete polar opposites of what you listen to?
Polar opposite. I don't know. Funny enough, I don't really, to be quite honest, listen to that much rap. And it's funny because I am on a pretty rap label.
Oh yeah.
And they're amazing, but it's funny because that's probably, I don't like listen to a ton of it myself.
You know what that means, right? You have to do a collaboration with rappers.
That
would be so awesome.
that would be. I definitely have a great roster of names to choose from. So.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
for sure. So from the beginning of your musical career until now, this answer is allowed to change. But what is your dream goal?
Okay. It's hard to think of something specific like that, but I want to be able to keep doing this. So I think I just want to reach as high as I can. So at this point, if I can make the music, reach maybe more universally. So I'd like to get over to, say, England and see Europe a little bit. And I think that the music would do well there. So I just like to reach beyond my immediate hometown and just and see where that goes. But yeah, I just like to be able to keep doing this.
We hope so as well, and we see bright futures for you.
Absolutely.
So,
Thank you.
So speaking of tours, you have a pretty big and extensive Canadian tour coming up with you're opening for Wake Owl at the Garrison right here in Toronto on Friday, February 28, 2014.
Yeah.
You're looking forward to that run.
I'm so excited. Yeah, that's going to be here before we know it. That's like
exactly. It's right around the corner.
Friday, yeah.
So I was going to ask, what's one place that you've never been to that you would love to perform? You said the UK already, but let's do something more exotic.
Yeah.
Choose any exotic place.
I was going to go non-exotic. I was going to say, like, short term, I'd really like to go to New York. I haven't been to New York yet.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
there you go.
I think you would be perfect in New York. Your sound is
really
perfect
want
for
to
them.
go. Like,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Even outside of music, I just want to go. So if I got to go for music, that's even better.
Well, I hope
That sounds
your
great.
label's listening to this, and then that's like the first place they book you.
I know. It's tangible, I think.
And get on all those nice talk shows and all of that.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So where can all of our listeners find you on the interwebs?
The easiest way is to go to www.imlyon.com.
That's great. And you have a Facebook, which is I Am Lyon. And then your Twitter's a little trickier. It's at I_am_Lyon.
Yeah. And if you forget any of those, you can just go to the main website and they link you all to everything.
Easy.
That's perfect. Yeah. Thank you so much, Lauren, for chatting with Andreas and I today on Capsule.
Yes,
No
thank you.
problem. It was fun.
You can find myself on Twitter at Sean Chin.
And you can find myself at Andreas Babs.
You can follow the show at Live in Limbo and use the hashtag Capsule Podcast to join in on the conversation. Please subscribe on iTunes as well. As always, you can find the show notes at liveinlimbo.com/capsule. Take care.